This is the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast, Episode 2. The Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast is a bi-weekly podcast dedicated to the world of scuba diving, ocean health, sustainability, and fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through diving education. Hello again, everyone. I'm Jeff Centropino, founder and president of the Scuba Educational Alliance of Connecticut, and thanks for tuning in. Well, we're off and running with the new podcast. And now, the season is flipped from summer to fall, and we're getting a lot of different colors to pop out up here in New England. And our weather has been very nice. Unfortunately, we've seen the devastation that the hurricane caused down south, and our hearts go out to everyone. I like summer a lot, but fall, in my opinion, is the best here in Connecticut. Now, it's been a busy couple of weeks as I try to get caught up on some work around the house. Plus, I've been doing a little bit of consulting work. I've also been working with the Boston Sea Rovers and helping them get their March 2025 show all lined up. And then later today, I'll be a guest again on the Level Up podcast from Scuba Diving Industry magazine, where I talk about my latest article on working with customers who have antiquated dive gear. Now, we did get our online store up and running for the Scuba Educational Alliance of Connecticut, and we have our winter hoodie and classic t-shirt, both short and long sleeves, up for purchase. You can check them out at seact.org and then click on the online store menu at the top of the page. Also, in a couple of weeks, Donna and I are off to Cayman Brac for a week of diving, and then it will be on to DEMA in Las Vegas in November. On today's show, I want to focus a bit on safety in scuba diving, specifically around how we manage risk. But up first is Sea State, our news and information segment. This is Sea State here on Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast for Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. Up first today is a story coming out of North Carolina. I know there's been a lot going on down there with the hurricane, but this story, it came out a little bit ago. It seems that there have been a number of Atlantic sharp-nosed sharks washing up on the shoreline, and they were bleeding from their mouths and gills. Now, this occurred on the Masonboro Island Reserve. I think that is one of the barrier islands and is located south of Wilmington. They counted 51 dead sharks that were right at the tide line, and most of them were between 14 to 21 inches in length. North Carolina officials don't believe that they will ever be able to find the cause of death. Now, a charter captain, Captain Trevor Smith with Gone Coastal Charters, thinks they just got trapped with the tide cycle, and it's not due to any environmental conditions like water quality. The range of the shark is from New England to the mid-Atlantic, and they can grow up to 4 feet in length. And while I'm on the subject of sharks, there was a story out of Florida on ABC7 WWSB out of Sarasota that Florida scientists discovered a new species of shark. The shark is named Sphyrna alleni, and it's a small hammerhead shark similar to the bonnethead shark. The shark is named in honor of the late Paul Allen, who was a supporter of shark conservation and marine ecosystems. Paul Allen was one of the founders of Microsoft, and he died in 2018. The research into identifying the new species was funded by the Paul Allen Family Foundation. Now, this work was headed by Damian Chapman, an associate professor at Florida Atlantic University and director of Mote Marine Lab Centers for Shark Research. The range of this new species is from Belize to Brazil. The ocean still has many secrets, and we continue to learn more every day. Now, here's something that I missed in August. DestinationDive.tv, and it ran their third season of 5 episodes on the Discovery Channel. Now, back when they premiered, I did a short segment on the show on this show on Scuba Shack Radio, but I seem to have lost track of it. Destination Dive TV is all about diving in the Florida Keys. Mike Zimmer is the executive producer, and Marina Angleton is the senior writer, producer, and developer, with Susan Gray as the host and a producer. The 5 episodes are Dive Like a Native, Wrecks, Volunteering to Help Our Oceans, Groups Working to Restore Vital Ecosystems, and What's Being Done to Protect Keys Reefs. Each episode is about 20 minutes long and really gets you excited about diving in the Keys. I'm partial to Key Largo, but perhaps there are some other spots to try out. Not sure when I'll make it back down there, but hope to soon. Check out destinationdive.tv and head on down to the Conch Republic for a few minutes. Okay, last time on Sea State I told you about Mexico Liveaboards' new boat, the Kino Del Mar. Well, here is some more news about a liveaboard from another of my favorite dive operations, Atlantis Philippines Dive Resorts and Liveaboards. They recently announced that they are adding a new boat, the Infinity Liveaboard. The Infinity will be joining their other boat, the Azores. Now, the Infinity was built in 2013 in Thailand, and it's all steel construction and is 133 feet long. The boat looks really nice with 11 cabins, 5 on the lower deck, 4 on the main deck, and 2 on the upper deck. Right now, the Infinity operates out of Cebu and Puerto Princesa. The Azores operates out of Dumaguete and Puerto Princesa. Not sure how they're going to operate the Infinity in the future. I'm going to check this out with Gordon and Les at Demon next month. One thing for sure, this is popular. Atlantis says they are booked solid well into 2026. So if you want to get on one of these trips, you got to act quick. There was a short press release on the Ocean Conservancy website under the tag Confronting Climate Change. The headline, Ocean Conservancy applauds California bill to clean up idle oil and gas wells. The subheading reads, legislation underscores need for additional federal action regarding regulating offshore oil and gas decommissioning. Now, while California strengthened regulation, that doesn't impact the 2,700 wells and 500 platforms in the federal waters in the Gulf of Mexico that are idle and deteriorating. As I talked about in the last episode, it will require federal legislation to address the issue in light of the Chevron deference Supreme Court decision. An Ocean Conservancy analysis projects that the number of wells needing to be decommissioned will go up to 5,000 by 2030. The ocean continues to be under one threat after another. Well, here's a very sad story coming out of Maui. A couple died there while snorkeling. The couple was from Snorhomish, Washington, and they were 25 and 26 years old. The young wife was expecting their second child, and they were on Maui to celebrate the upcoming birth. Now, how awful. They were using full face mask snorkels at the time. There is speculation at this point, and rightly so, that the cause of death was a result of CO2 buildup that is known to occur with some full face mask snorkels. Several years ago, Divers Alert Network did a study on this, and they indicated that there are some of those on the market that might have poor design and cause that buildup of carbon dioxide. In this case, the couple's sister-in-law, who was also on the trip and using a full face mask snorkel, said that she had to rip the mask off of her face because it felt like she was suffocating. These masks are also difficult to remove and clear any water that gets in. Plus, some people feel claustrophobic when wearing them. I was not a fan of these masks at the dive shop, and we stopped carrying them years ago. This latest incident should raise some very big concerns. And finally today, it looks like the SS United States will find a home. The SS United States was once America's flagship, an ocean liner that was a modern marvel launched in 1951, just prior to the commercial jet age. The ship embarked on its maiden voyage July 3, 1952, and set a speed record topping out at 36 knots on an Atlantic crossing. The ship was so fast that the wind across the deck was fierce enough, forcing passengers to remain inside the promenade. The SS United States was permanently removed from service in 1969. I think since then it's been at a dock in Philadelphia. Well, the ship was being evicted from the dock, and it looked like this once proud icon would be sold for scrap. Now, according to a news report out of CBS News in Philadelphia, a judge temporarily suspended the eviction deadline to allow for the sale, and that happened. Apparently, the Okaloosa County Tourist Development Council out of Florida agreed to purchase the ship for $10.1 million and move it to a location off of Florida in the Gulf of Mexico. The SS United States will then be sunk to create what is billed as the largest artificial reef in the world. The vessel is 990 feet long, and they intend to sink it in 180 feet of water. Here's another trivia point about the ship. It could go 20 knots in reverse. Well, that wraps up this edition of Sea State here on the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. Today's featured segment will move into the world of scuba diving. We are, after all, the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. Now, this might be a little bit of commentary or maybe just my perspective, but I want to talk about risk management in diving. It's personal. I came across an article in my news feed recently that got me thinking about risk a little more. The CNN article was written by Laura Patterson, and the headline read, "Tourists are rushing to see glaciers before they disappear, but trips are turning deadly." Well, we all know that as the world heats up, the glaciers are receding faster than anticipated, and there are many who want to see them up close before they vanish. But is it safe to get up close? Is it risky to fulfill this bucket list item? The story discussed an incident at the Valdez Glacier in Alaska where 3 people died as they attempted to get close to the ice. They did not recognize the risk associated with the unusually blue color of ice, which is a warning sign of calving. Not understanding the risk in kayaking up to a glacier seems irresponsible. And then there are those who fail to factor in the risks of trying to climb Mount Everest. In 2023, 18 people died while trying to get to the summit. The 2024 season saw only 9 people perish, and according to Ben Ayres in an article in Outdoor Magazine, after the 2023 season, Nepali lawmakers imposed new safety regulations where operators are forbidden from taking clients who were unprepared for venturing to the summit. So was this mandated risk mitigation regulation the reason for the 50% drop? Maybe it most definitely factored in, but also you see the 2024 weather was milder, and that also factored in. But I'm sure, however, that operators had to turn away people who didn't understand the risks with this dangerous climb. The dive industry is a little different than most other outdoor sporting activities. You see, we need to be certified scuba divers to be able to go out there and participate on our own. This is unlike kayaking or snow skiing. Yes, you can take courses and lessons with that stuff, but essentially, no one is checking your certification card to go on the slopes or lakes or rivers. In diving, we have the World Recreational Scuba Training Council setting the basic standards that all agencies follow for certifying open water divers. So with this certification comes responsibility. Responsibility for managing the risk in scuba. It's personal. As scuba divers, we're all familiar with completing the diver liability form with a dive operator. Most of these are now online and most contain the standard language. But have you really stopped to read and comprehend what the form is all about? Essentially, it's about you taking personal responsibility in managing the risk associated with diving. Most forms state that you have to be in good mental and physical fitness to dive. Assessing your mental fitness may not be easy, but certainly if you have a physical issue that should be pretty apparent that you're putting yourself at risk if you're going diving. Another thing that some forms contain is a statement that if you're taking medications, that your doctor has cleared you for diving. One of the things that I do each year is that during my annual physical, I ask my doctor if there is any reason for me not to dive. I know that some folks take the diver medical questionnaire with them and ask their doctor to sign it. That's not a bad idea and another area of personal risk mitigation. Here's another item that might be contained in the liability release form, the idea of a refresher after a period of inactivity. Now, just what is a period of inactivity? 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years? That's hard to pin down. Now, Dan Orr wrote an article in the June issue of Scuba Diving Industry magazine and noted that for medical professionals, advanced life support ALS skills deteriorate within 6 months and they need to be refreshed. The same is true in scuba diving. I've seen it over the years with individuals who haven't been diving for a while, and they struggle in either putting their gear together, planning a dive, understanding their dive computer, how much weight they need, and that's even before they get in the water. Talk about stress. So getting in the pool with a dive professional after a period of inactivity is a big personal risk mitigation item. Okay, here's one that's pretty simple, right? Most forms have you confirm that you are responsible for your own equipment, that it's operating properly, and you should not dive with faulty equipment. We know that equipment can fail, sometimes unexpectedly. But sometimes, if we know something is wrong, it needs to be fixed. When was the last time you had your gear serviced? Do you have a Save a Dive kit? Now, I talked about a Save a Dive kit a long time ago on Scuba Shack Radio. And not only should you affirm that your gear is working properly, more importantly, do you know how to use it? That's especially pertinent if you're using rental gear. Do you know where the releases are, where the dump valves are, how the integrated weights work? Do you know how to use your surface marker buoy? We call our scuba kit life support gear. Make sure it's functioning properly and that you know how to use it. And that's a major pillar of personal risk mitigation in scuba diving. And here's another one that's pretty easy. Listen to the boat crew and follow instructions. They understand their boat and the conditions that can be expected. But it's all too easy not to pay attention or follow the procedures. People get distracted, maybe because they haven't addressed the other risk elements I talked about. If you want to do something different from what the crew has outlined, ask. Don't just do your own thing. Normally, following their guidance is helping you reduce any risk. Finally, as a scuba diver, training and experience are paramount. It's not just training for another certification card, it's training to gain more confidence and competence in the water. I talked about mastery, competency, and proficiency in one of my last episodes of Scuba Shack Radio. Training helps with all three. And then there is the experience of getting out there and diving in different environments and conditions that will expand your experience and help you better manage the risks associated with scuba diving. We are all made aware of the risks associated with scuba diving when we first embark on our underwater journey. And it's imperative that we look at all aspects when getting in the water. Are we mentally and physically ready? Are our skills fresh? Is our equipment working properly? Are we following directions? And do we have the training and experience to conduct a dive? Seems pretty simple, right? Pretty simple and straightforward if we make risk mitigation in diving personal. Having been around the dive industry for a while, I've seen numerous examples of where I didn't think people were taking their risk mitigation personal. We own it. We just can't delegate it to someone else. Well, that wraps up this second episode of the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast. Thanks again for listening. And please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app so you won't miss an episode. Now, I'll be back in a couple of weeks with more. Until then, enjoy October. This has been the Scuba Educational Alliance Ocean Podcast, a show dedicated to the world of scuba diving, ocean health, sustainability, and fostering a new generation of ocean stewards through diving education. Talk to you again real soon.